Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Doctor Who Robert Harrop product review. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at one of their latest 2021 releases, and it is of course the First Doctor, as portrayed by William Hartnell. This statue is limited edition to 225 units. The packaging for the First Doctor statue is exactly the same to any other recent Robert Harrop release, featuring the same style guide. The box has been made out of a corrugated cardboard, ensuring that the statue on the inside of the box is safe. Harrop have opted for the stacked variation of the new series Doctor Who logo with the white typeface, looking very stylish indeed. As always, a neat touch is the band of Gallifreyan text, and in the centre we have the usual sticker with the statue details. This is the 45th figure as a part of the series and limited edition to 225 units. At the bottom it states that this is a limited edition hand-painted figurine, as well as featuring the Robert Harrop logo. Of course, we have the usual lovely TARDIS graphic on either side of the box, and as we rotate around to the back once more, we have the Doctor Who logo, as well as company information at the bottom. Upon opening the box, you are greeted by lots of protective material, including a foam template and a bag to protect the statue from dust. The statue does also come packed with the usual certificate of authenticity, following the same style guide to that of the packaging, once again featuring the unique number handwritten on, as well as an image of William Hartnell in black and white. Flipping around to the back, we also get various company details, as well as mentioning the people who have portrayed the First Doctor in the past, including William Hartnell, David Bradley, and of course Richard Hurndall. So here we have the First Doctor statue out of the box, and I'm really happy with this one. I am always a little bit reserved when it comes to ordering the Harrop humanoid characters, because sometimes in the past their likenesses have been a little bit off, to say the least. However, on the Second Doctor and First Doctor releases, the most recent humanoids that they've done, I think they are most certainly getting better, and their likenesses are much stronger. Due to the Robert Harrop statues being non-articulated pieces, it is very important what pose the character is positioned within, because it needs to reflect the character's personality. And I think that they've certainly got that down to a T with the First Doctor, with one of his hands in his pocket and the other holding his walking stick. He looks quite thoughtful, looking off into the distance, very intelligent, very professor-like, and also he looks excellent in black and white. In fact, if the colour version sells out eventually, there will no doubt be a black and white release, very much like how there was with the Second Doctor. Of course, the vast majority of my Robert Harrop collection is in fact the weird and wacky classic series monsters, therefore it is always quite a shock returning back to a humanoid character, because the sculpting and paint application overall is very different, replicating the textures and material within the human outfit. And speaking of the outfit, I think that Robert Harrop have done a great job bringing this to life. Starting off with the waistcoat in the very middle. Of course, within the TV show itself, this is normally littered with lots of smaller textured stitch detailing. On the statue, it is a little bit different, more simplified, which kind of goes to the style of the Harrop series considerably well. I think that if this was a detailed waistcoat, it would look very unusual. So instead we just have a cream which has been used, and then a slightly darker wash has been applied over the top of this, which kind of brings out the stitching within the waistcoat. We have that darker lined effect, and then of course down the centre we have the buttons, which have been given a lighter cream highlight, as well as a few buttonholes. In the centre there is of course also the First Doctor's monocle. The string of this has been nicely picked out with a black paint application, and the monocle has a golden rim running around the sides, and in the centre a lovely lighter green. One of the highlights for me within the costume is the cravat. I really love the way this has been sculpted to have a few creases within the material itself. We have a black base colour and then a darker blue wash applied over the top to kind of give it a velvety finish. Underneath this we have the First Doctor's vibrant white shirt, and again I love the sculpting detail on this. As we tilt around to the front we have the lovely triangular shaped collar sections poking out, which is very cool indeed. Of course the band of the cravat continuing around the side of the neck. And then of course over the top of the waistcoat we have the First Doctor's jacket. Again, I really love the sculpting of this, and something of which that we don't tend to see on the monsters is the actual sculpting of material. Here we have a perfect example of that, featuring all these lovely creases and wrinkles where the arms are bending. We also have the stitching lines here at the top of the shoulders and running along in a line here as well. And then of course down the centre we have a few creases and wrinkles, making the jacket naturally sit on the body, and of course the same can be said for the opposite side as well. Lots of lovely creases. I love the way the material floats round as we have the First Doctor's hand positioned within his trousers, and the same can be said as we slide all the way around to the back. We have a continuation of that creased and stitched design, as well as a few unique indentations which can become to expected really with the material that is used to make these statues. And of course overall the jacket kind of has a glossy black wash in a way, but it also looks considerably matte as well. It's kind of a blend between the two, which looks quite unusual but is very effective. Towards the centre of the jacket we have the inclusion of some buttons which have been given a glossy black highlight, as well as the sculpting of a number of buttonholes. Towards the bottom a suggestion of a pocket, which is also repeated on the opposite side, however this is slightly hidden by the jacket creasing. Above this we have the sculpting of the lapels. Again, I really love how this sits above the rest of the jacket, giving the coat overall a number of layers. To finish off for the jacket we also have a continuation of the white shirt underneath towards the cuffs, as well as some smaller detailing of buttons, again picked out with a glossy black paint application. As for the hands, these have been given a lovely natural skin tone with a slightly darker wash to create the effect of shading. And then we also have the inclusion of the First Doctor's ring, really excellently picked out with a golden paint application and a lighter blue in the centre to replicate the jewel. This has of course been sculpted to hold the walking stick. As we progress further down the statue we have the inclusion of the First Doctor's trousers. These are rather similar to the Second Doctor in that they're both a checkered design, and as a result some may say the checkers are very overemphasised. Of course the checks overall have been sculpted into the statue and then a wash has been applied over the top to draw out the different squares, and yes, this does look very pronounced, but to be honest I don't mind. I think it looks pretty cool. Of course we do also have a number of creases and wrinkles within the trousers, in particular around here, and again to match this a darker paint application has been used to kind of draw attention to those shaded lines, making the material look like it's sitting naturally on the First Doctor's body. The same can be seen here as well and just below the jacket, and of course the base colour of these is a rather sandy colour. Zooming in a little bit closer, I think this is by far one of the strengths of the humanoid Harrop figures, and that attempt to recreate the texture of the material. It is very effective on this statue release. And finally for the clothing we have the addition of the First Doctor's shoes. These have been sculpted excellently. If you look closely there is a little bit of creasing within the material, as well as a few stipples around the sole. Of course the main colour is a glossy black, where they've been polished no doubt by the First Doctor over time, and this has been excellently finished off there with a spat at the top picked out using a lovely lighter grey highlight. These stand out quite a lot, especially on that stony yellow surface. As we tilt to the side of the statue we have the addition of the First Doctor's walking stick, which has been excellently recreated. Towards the top we have the ever so slight suggestion of the walking stick's golden handle, which for the vast majority has been hidden by the hand. However, there is also an ever so slight piece sticking out at the back as well. And then as we tilt towards the top of the walking stick we have this wonderful curled wood design. Of course this has been brought out excellently using a light brown paint application, give that glossed wood texture as you curl around the spirals. As for the rest of the walking stick, this is the same darker brown design. Of course it does connect to the surface of the base there at the very bottom, and no doubt if you were to force this it would snap, so of course this is a product for an older Doctor Who collector as opposed to a younger fan, as always with this series really. And as I mentioned earlier when talking about pose, I think the addition of the First Doctor's walking stick really adds to this statue overall. I love the way that it kind of sits, I love the way that he's bent his arm. It gives it a really lovely complete look overall, and I think especially when you rotate the statue round it really shows off the First Doctor and kind of how we've seen him on screen. I think overall for the costume it is a very lovely and sharp design. As always with this series, this statue does come with a uniquely sculpted base. This time round we have a kind of less obvious environment to usual. Of course with the Yeti we had that lovely stoned landscape to kind of represent the environment around Det's End Monastery. With the First Doctor it could be from one of a number of stories really. We could have maybe the desert from Marco Polo, maybe even the Romans, or possibly even the Mythmakers as well, to be honest. It's this lovely stone pebble dash kind of design, and to make this look natural we have a number of rocks sticking out which have been given a highlight of darker oranges, a little bit of brown in there as well, and a few lighter greys, making it look like a natural terrain. Flipping the statue up to take a look at the base, as per usual we have a little bit of material to ensure that the statue doesn't slide about, as well as the usual sticker with the normal company details on, and the unique identification number being unit 169 out of 225. So now let's take a look at the head sculpt and ultimately that likeness to William Hartnell. The Robert Harrop head sculpts are unusual, especially when it comes to humanoids, because they have that unusual blend between realistic, caricature, and certain aspects of the face being overemphasised. And I've just looked down the viewfinder and seen William Hartnell staring down it rather intensely, so I'm going to move the figure ever so slightly to an angle to make it look less menacing. This is a style that I think some people like and some people hate it. I think especially on their later figures, it is definitely starting to improve, and some of those key aspects of the face, the key defining parts that make it look like the character, are becoming much sharper. In particular for this figure, I love the way the bone structure has been emphasised, and equally the paint application complements this. Around the sides of the face here, we have this lovely lighter pink design, which also has been used around the side of the cheekbone and jaw to really emphasise the bone structure around William Hartnell's face. Equally, we've also got the eyes, which also seem to be considerably emphasised, but I think this is mostly down to the paint application used, where we have that whiter design as a base with those piercing black eyes on top, which I must admit when I first seen this figure I was a little bit worried by, but having now had this figure in hand for quite a while, it does look considerably effective. Face also has this wonderful stippled design where we have that lighter paint application for the eyebrows, which looks very subtle, but also lots of different shades of pink and lighter tones of peach, really replicating the skin tone for William Hartnell's face. And we also have some darker paint application to emphasise the wrinkles, including William Hartnell's eye bags. As we tilt around to the side, we also have the infamous Hartnell wig, which originally as a child I didn't know was a wig. I thought this was genuinely his hair, but we have again a wonderful sculpt on this, lots of different strands, lots of different curls. It sits rather naturally on the head. We have this lighter cream colour as a base, which is a little bit unusual, and we have that shock of grey applied over the top, which looks very cool indeed, and again really brings the hair to life, especially towards the sides here, where we have that more concentrated creased and wrinkled pattern, and of course that finishes off with ears with several different sections sculpted within it. Robert Harrop are most certainly improving when it comes to likenesses, and when you put this head alongside the costume, they complement each other excellently. I think overall for the face, it most definitely looks like the First Doctor, but also the sculpt itself looks considerably thoughtful. It looks like the Doctor is kind of thinking about something, and I like that. I think it's a really nice neutral expression, which works very well. Especially when converted over to black and white, I think those darker paint applications really make this likeness pop, which is convenient given that William Hartnell is of course from 1960s Doctor Who. So if they do eventually create a black and white variation of this statue, I imagine it's going to look excellent. So in summary, for my review of the Doctor Who Robert Harrop limited edition hand-painted figurine of the First Doctor, limited edition to 225 units, it's a brilliant statue. Personally, I really do love it. I love the way that Robert Harrop have managed to recreate the textures within the various levels of the outfit, but also equally it is great to see an improvement within their likenesses. I think that this is undeniably the First Doctor, although it still has that Harrop twist in there as well when it comes to some exaggerated facial expressions. As for if this statue is worth purchasing, it is all down to personal preference. If you are somebody who likes collecting the monsters that Harrop release, then simply stick to the monsters. If you're somebody who really isn't keen by the likenesses, then I don't recommend getting this statue, although it is a really lovely addition, and as always with the Robert Harrop series, by purchasing these statues, you know you are getting a product that has been excellently painted and excellently sculpted. These are by far some of the most consistently high quality products that are currently on the Doctor Who market, and is something of which that I thoroughly enjoy collecting. So thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on the Host Productions for regular Doctor Who content. Have a nice day, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.